what form should I study? I said, well, it doesn't matter the form you study. You take from it what you need. One teacher will give you one thing, another teacher will give you another. They will all give you, and Duncan MacLeod was a mixture over 400 years of different things that he'd learned and seen and done, and took some of this and some of that. So his fighting style was mixture between kung fu style, or should I say Chinese style, and Korean style, and Japanese style, and European style. It was all mixed up. It's all different because, you know, what worked against one opponent didn't necessarily work against another.
Best of all
so
worlds.
You should take that in your life. It's never going to be the same.
Adrian Paul, actor, director, choreographer.
A television and movie icon, celebrated for his role as Duncan MacLeod in the 1990s hit television series Highlander.
Now taking on the role of teaching the world the true meaning of discipline and compassion as the founder of the Sword Experience and the Peace Fund.
And one of the corporate experiences, one of the guys said, I didn't realize that my partner wasn't my opponent. And I'm going to take that into my business, because therefore my client is not my opponent, he's my partner. So I'm going to try and get what I want from him by working with him rather than working against him. Think about this. If a guy had a sword in his hand, would you talk to him the same way as if he didn't?
Right.
Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
Directing action is one thing, but directing your life towards service is a bigger challenge. A life spent refining movement, mindset, and meaning, our guest shows why precision is the new superpower. Globally known for his role as Duncan MacLeod in the 90s television series Highlander, actor, choreographer, director, father, and founder of the Sword Experience, Mr. Adrian Paul. Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Not bad, sir. Thank you for spending time with us.
I hope my audio's coming in good, because sometimes with the technical stuff we've had today, it's kind of might cause problems. Am I still coming in loud and clear?
Yep, your voice is good, but we seem to have lost your picture.
Oh,
but we'll
I can
keep
see
it going.
me. That's horrible.
It
might be better for some people.
So thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us here, so we can do a brief interview and get your experience. I've spent some time with you during your Sword Experience here in Colorado Springs, go at the Gardens of the Gods, and showing like how you spend your time with people who are fans of your work and also wanting to learn a little bit more about swordsmanship and choreography in the business and things like that, and have a chance to experience that through you.
Yeah, I mean, the Sword Experience is kind of like an offshoot from what I did, and it's a fun thing for me to be as an organizer, director, because I get to shoot the stuff, I get to teach people in a very short space of time, I get to write a story and get them to act in it, and it's a fun day. It's fun for me, and hopefully it's fun for them. But each one is very different. I can have 15 people in an event or 45, 50 people in an event. Really is very dependent on the location.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I gotta admit, I was when Emmett told me he was going to the Sword Experience with you, I was jealous, to be honest, because I did grow up watching you in Highlander, and you were definitely the guy in modern times, other than like all the martial arts movies and everything like that, and seeing martial artists in the dojo and different things like that, that really made me want to do two things. One, get a katana and start training with it. Two, get a loft in the city so I could, be practicing with my katana in the loft.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you had a loft like that? I mean, it was,
Oh man, it was amazing.
Yeah, no, they did a fan. I actually just did a Highlander tour in Vancouver, which I do once a year, in around about October time, and I had the set designer there, and I was just saying, the way he was able to create amazing visuals for little money. I mean, the whole show itself was only 950,000, I think, per episode. Today, if you're lucky on a small episode, it's 4 million.
Right.
So you're talking, and then it goes up from there. Then you go to the Netflix of the world and the Prime TV of the world, and then you're talking about 10, 15, 100 million. It's per episode, which is ridiculous.
And that's 90s money too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was. I have a lot of people talk to me about the show and what it did for them, but for me, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me about hard work. It taught me about a lot of history, and I think anytime that you work on anything or you do anything, you should take that time to find what the benefit of it is. I mean, I was working probably 12, 14 hours a day, at least, every day of the week. Every day of the week, including Saturday and Sundays. Or, I may have gotten some time off. And at one point, after doing 9 months of that, 10 months of that, you kind of go, oh, what am I doing? But then you go, wait a minute, what did I learn from this? So I shot in amazing locations. I spent time with amazing people. I learned stuff from martial art. I got stuff from that. And a lot of people look at the problem that they're in, not what they're gaining from the problem.
Right. Not an obstacle, but an opportunity.
Yeah, right.
100%.
I mean, that's,
100%. So with Warriors Way Home, one thing that we definitely focus in on is honorable masculinity, not just masculinity, but the honor side of it. We're both of us are martial artists, so all of us are martial artists, so we're big into honor and discipline and all these different things like that. It's not just about being a man, but what kind of man you are. Dangerous but disciplined, confident and compassionate, successful, but also focused on service. Being oriented with that. What would you say it means to be a honorable man? All those things, a lot of purpose. What does that mean to you now?
I lost you a little bit on the end there, but I'm going to reply with something that I tell my son. I said, if you lie, if you don't tell the truth, the only thing you have in this life is your word. You have to be able to be, if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're going to do something, do it properly and don't lie about it. If you did something wrong, own up to it. Because really, what do you have afterwards? It's nothing. Money doesn't really matter. When you're dying, you don't need more money. You need more time. When you're in your life, money does not bring you happiness. It's the people around you, how you treat them, how you have the respect. You talk about honor. All of that is part of honor.
Right.
Your word is your honor.
So absolutely. True. Yeah. And integrity, personal integrity, and honesty. Those are definitely two principles that we talk about in the Bushido. A part of our programs and our overall philosophy in life and how we want to move and be remembered. In this world. When it comes to your different roles and between acting and producing and directing and philanthropy, how do you flow between being a director and a leader and taking direction? To taking direction and being talent during all your many projects?
It's compartmentalizing, I think, is the best word. You have to, it's times I've been on the set and, I'm looking at things going, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do this. I was on one set at one point. I remember the writer wanted something specific, and I actually pointed out the error in the script, because a lot of the time when you're a writer, you will be in your head as to how this is. But when you get into the space, it's different. So when I was saying this, I said, well, if this happens, this is happening. He goes, no, it's fine. And I happened to mention it in front of the director, and literally about 5-10 minutes later, he said, you're right, we should do it your way. Or we should take this. Because so sometimes you have to say it, own up to it, but then not push it. You don't have to push it, because it's not your baby anymore. It doesn't have to be. It's not on your shoulders. So you don't have to put that ego in front of it. That's something I learned. I mean, way back in my early career, I would dig my heels into for stuff, and it hurt me in some respects, in some places. And so sometimes you have to really understand where to navigate. Yeah, you got to navigate certain things. As a producer, for instance, good producers don't slam unless they're very well known, they don't slam their opinion immediately on everything, but they navigate things and get people to do it the way they want to do it by suggestion. I'll give you a simple example about that. Years ago, I was told by one of the producers on Highlander that I should drop the accent and we were going to stop the flashbacks. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And she said, well, you can't do that. I'm going to have the lead producer talk to you. when the lead producer called me, I'd had time to think about it. And that goes back to something else I'm going to mention in a second. But I went back to think about it, and I thought, how do I get my point across without coming across like I'm digging my heels in? Because at the end, he's got all the power. I really don't. I do, but I don't. So I said to myself, okay, let me make it his idea. So he called me up and said, Adrian, we got to change this. We got to do this. And I said, okay, fine. I said, absolutely, I'll do it your way. But I've tried it, but I don't know who the character is anymore. And he went, oh, wait a minute. I said, he said, well, maybe we could do it like this. I said, yeah, how about we do this and this? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And so eventually we came to a compromise, but it was actually the compromise that I actually wanted in the first place. I won my point, but I made it their point of view, right? And it goes down to this, and this goes down to something that is so difficult for people to do today. When you, especially with social media, most of the time when you're on social media now, people say things and you want to immediately reply to them. And you want to say back, oh, you dick, you whatever you want to call them, whatever.
Right.
Firemen and policemen and doctors don't react, they respond. And by that, you take a breath for a minute and go, okay, this is what I really feel like saying, but is that going to get me what I need? Is that going to improve this situation? Probably not. There are many times on social media when I want to reply to something and I will write it. And by the time I've written it, I reread it, I go, no, it's not going to sound right. And I delete it. And I rewrite it how it should be written to get my point across, to make sure that there is a dialogue going, not just an opinion.
Right. Wow. Yeah. We have a version of that ourselves. We had somebody who kind of they took a clip of ours from a previous episode out of context, and then they wrote us this big long 5-page letter about it. And all we said was, hey, why don't you go back and watch the full episode and then come back and report back to us. Let us know how you feel. And I would have never on the internet, I never thought anybody came back and said, you know what, you're right. Hearing you're right is very rare on the internet, I think. But they came back and said, you know what, I think I was reacting out of my own BS. You now have a new subscriber. And that was like, wow, that's cool.
This goes with the Republicans and the Democrats today. Everybody wants to say their point of view immediately, and the other one's totally wrong immediately. And, I get both sides on my feeds. I get both sides. And I hit both sides. And I say, well, yeah, that's not, but I kind of agree with this, but how about this? And even though we might have a different in opinion, there is a dialogue going ahead. And there's no way you're ever going to get anything across if you're both butting heads together. Nobody will give ground, and nothing will get solved.
Absolutely. We do talk about that a lot, the fact that we can disagree. Edmund and I don't agree on everything. It's like, but we can both listen to each other and we can still be cool with each other afterwards, even if we don't come to an agreement on the thing. I still might be believing what I believe, he believes what he believes. That doesn't have to end our friendship, end our business, all these different things. We don't need to let that tear us down. In fact, us debating helps both of us grow at the end of the day.
Collaboration over competition, for sure.
Absolutely. So in your life, you trained in everything from dance, I believe, choreography, taekwondo, kung fu, to your massive amount of training in swords, especially doing the sword experience now. And you spoke about the importance of discipline and continuous training, not just in martial arts but in life. What kind of training and practice do you rely on to stay grounded and creatively sharp today?
I think watching other people is one of the things. One of the things I learned as a teacher, because doing Duncan MacLeod, I was taught a lot of things. I studied a lot of things, but to teach is a different thing. And what I realized as a teacher was watching people rather than performing or trying to do it while somebody's talking. You learn a lot more. And you kind of go, oh, it's that now. I understand that. So I take it to the same degree with everything else I try and do, is that if I want to go and do something, I'll go and watch stuff, or I'll go to an event, or I'll look online, or I'll find things and see what the experience is, or what the category is that I'm trying to look at, and see, okay, is that right? Do I agree with that? Yes, no. So you get more informed rather than just taking one piece of information and going ahead with it.
The Bruce Lee method.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I didn't know.
Well, he always said, to take what's useful and to toss the rest away, to, not just rely on one art or one thing, but to expand your focus to other things in your life.
Well, that's totally Duncan MacLeod in the Highlander, because he basically studied all these different things, and this is what people had always asked me: what form should I study? I said, well, it doesn't matter the form you study. You take from it what you need. One teacher will give you one thing, another teacher will give you another. They will all give you. And Duncan MacLeod was a mixture over 400 years of different things that he'd learned and seen and done, and took some of this and some of that. So his fighting style was mixture between kung fu style, or should I say Chinese style, and Korean style, and Japanese style, and European style. It was all mixed up. It's all different because, what worked against one opponent didn't necessarily work against another.
Right. Best of all
So
worlds.
you should take that in your life. It's never going to be the same. And somebody, I have corporate experiences as well. And one of the corporate experiences, one of the guys said, I didn't realize that my partner wasn't my opponent. And I'm going to take that into my business, because therefore my client is not my opponent. He's my partner. So I'm going to try and get what I want from him by working with him rather than working against him.
Absolutely.
And I thought that's a really interesting comment that the guy made.
So true.
Basically, before you do it, before you say that, it's like, think about this. If a guy had a sword in his hand, would you talk to him the same way as if he didn't?
Right.
Very true.
Be a lot of yes sir, no sir.
Or a weapon of any sort. So think about that when you do it. So it's, anyway. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
you're good.
That must have been an amazing experience, just even getting to train in all those different styles. Just because, like I said, flashing back to watching some of the episodes of, like you said, going the European style to the Japanese style to, getting a taste of all these different things. It reminds me a lot about, like you said, the martial arts experience, going to different dojos, learning from different teachers. That must have been an amazing experience for you.
But yeah, it was. I had some amazing teachers. I mean, I had Bob Anderson, first of all, who was the head of the British Olympic fencing team for 30 years. So all the European styles he had, and what he taught me at first. And then I went and studied the Chinese arts through Hung Gar Kung Fu. And then I had different stunt guys and martial artists that I studied that had more of a Korean, Japanese style to them. And so I learned some of their techniques. So it was interesting to mix with all these different people. And yeah, it was a great journey in that respect.
Absolutely. And speaking of kind of being able to travel around the world, you founded the Peace Fund back in the late 90s, helping children in crisis, and being able to service people in places like, Romania, Hungary, Thailand, Cambodia, Pakistan, and all these other places. How has that experience in running that organization influenced your understanding of like what strength and service really means?
I think the benefit is not tangible. It's a benefit that you can't even express when you see somebody benefit from something you did or gave them or helped them with. That makes you feel amazing. It's just an amazing, and I found that across the board, because we also had Peace Fund Radio at one point. We had over 600-700 hours of radio that I did for, I donated my time to. And a lot of the organizations I spoke with, a lot of the people, I'd say 99% of the people, a lot of the heads from them came from people who had volunteered first, said, I didn't really know what I was getting into. And then when I started doing it, I got so much out of it. I was giving back, and eventually they became part of that organization or ran a portion of that organization years later. And so I think what you get from it is an intangible aspect or reward, if you like, that you couldn't get by doing something else. Donating money, okay, yeah, I'm a millionaire. I've donated $20,000. Yeah, that's intangible in my respect. You need that because you can't run that without it. So you need people of that nature who do that type of thing. But to actually physically get on the street and go there and hand out things to homeless people, or talk to people on the street, or go to a food pantry, or drop some. I mean, it's so simple to do. Because you can go to your food pantry, and I guarantee you, or your garage, and find things in there that have been sitting there for a while. I wouldn't advise the food pantry that you could donate to somebody, But so there are certain things you could do, and then you go, I gave that to somebody. That that person now is wearing some clothes, or that person now has been helped out of foster care, or et cetera, et cetera. So it's and one of the biggest things, as I told you, I think you have to learn from the things that you're getting in. I wasn't getting a monetary award at all from the Peace Fund, not a dime. But the things I learned about life, about people in need was huge. One of the biggest ones I ever learned was when I did my first interview for an organization. I think it was New Brunswick, not New Brunswick, Vermont, somewhere up in that area. And I was doing the interview, and the guy said to me, "Do you realize that the grade 3 reading level is extremely important?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, the prisons here, they go by the grade 3 reading level to decide how many prisons they're going to build."
Wow.
Because if you're not up to date with the prison level by grade 3, you're probably going to turn to crime, drugs, or something else that's going to put you in prison eventually. And a lot of states actually do that. So imagine that. And to my thing, we had a program that was just basically reading. It was a reading program so that you could actually, help kids that would read. And the biggest thing is parents. I know you have a lot of time. You don't have time. Read to your kid. The amount of reading words that you give them, an ability to learn by just reading to them when they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old is immense. Immense.
Oh yeah, I have a 1-year-old or a 14-month-old now, and I definitely feel that because he'll pick up books and he'll throw it in my lap like, "Hey, let's read."
Yeah,
so I'm like,
I love it.
I got you. Like,
and the best thing to do is be the character in the book. Because when you're the character in the book, they see it, they imagine it. I still do it with my 5-year-old. I actually have things like little stuffed animals of his, and they talk and they read the book and they do things like that, and he loves it. I'll even drive the car doing it with him. So it gives, what it does is you go, "Oh, that's just stupid." Well, how's that going to teach them to read? It doesn't necessarily teach them to read. What it teaches them to do is explore and have open their creative mind of how to do things.
Yeah.
So by doing that, you really allow them to grow because the left and right cortex of the brain. The differences between the two, there's the right cortex and the left cortex. One is the creative side, one is the learning side, and there's a connection there. If you learn a mathematical problem, or if you learn a language, or learn music, it connects that and allows you to learn quicker. Therefore, if you are increasing that creativity side in their brain, their learning side in math, in physics, in all those other things gets greater.
Absolutely.
So speaking of kids, you definitely mentioned when we reached out to you that one of the things you're most proud of is your children. And I believe you have 3, if I'm not mistaken. You have a girl and 2 boys, if I'm correct.
You're right. Yep.
Okay. How would after everything you've done, all with the movies and the TV and all the experiences you've had, and the organizations you started, and all the things you will do later on, far down the ways, when you do, walk off into the sunset, as to use a movie phrase, how would you want your children to remember you?
I want my children oh gosh, it's a tough one in a sense. To remember me, it's somebody that just gave them their ethics in life, or their ability to navigate the world, I think. Because the hardest thing, I think, for parents today, listen, I've got 2 teenagers, so I'm at that crazy point where their attitudes change. It's the breaking of the ties to the parents' age, where they want to have their own identity. That's the hardest stage to be. So a lot of the time, I'm unsuccessful, even trying to be calm with them, because losing your temper doesn't necessarily work. Is to try and explain why they shouldn't be doing this, what is bad for them to do this. And eventually, I know eventually down the line, in another 10 years' time, it'll have sunk in, because life changes. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old or 14 years old, life is very different than when you're 28. It's extremely different, right? And you still think you have it figured out at 28, but you don't. And you know, but at 14, you know, I used to say to my parents, "You don't understand me. You don't get it. You don't understand what I'm going through. Blah 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 blah." My kids are saying exactly the same thing to me now. You don't get it. You don't. Oh, I don't get it. Okay, I don't. So the thing is, I think later on, I want them to understand that they have the choice to make, to either go one way or go the other. I tell them that I can give you as many tools as I can give you. I can give you the opportunity to do this, but the choice is yours. My wife was always saying to me, I want them to go to college. I want them to go to college. And I'm like, to be honest, they go to college, great. They don't, great too. But I'm going to give them the opportunity to do it, but it's their life. It's not my life anymore. At some point as a parent, you have to say, it's not my life anymore. That's really hard to do. I know it's a hard thing. And you want your child to, the one thing I think any parent wants is for their child to be better than they are. And I think that's what I'd like my kids to know, is for my kids to be successful, better than I was. And it doesn't mean monetarily. It means whether they were spiritually better than me, whether they were more, ethically. They had better integrity, whatever that was, that they had that ability. What did they learn from me? I mean, I've been married twice. This is my second marriage. My first marriage, I remember we went to a Roman Catholic church, and the priest said to me, or said to us, he said, "Do you think you learned anything from your parents? Did you think your parents influenced your life?" And I'm like, "No, they absolutely didn't." And, you know, I make my own choices. That's the way I took it, because immediately I was taking it from that. And he said, "No, actually, you're wrong." He said, "Your parents have influenced you at every step of the way. Whether they've done something right or they've done something wrong, you've looked at that and made your decision as to how you're going to behave with your own life."
Absolutely.
So your parents do influence you. Everything that they do is an influence to you. So I want my kids to say, well, my parents really influenced me well, so I was able to make the right decisions. Otherwise, I would have gone along this path.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow. Whew, so powerful. So our last question here for you is that we have a saying here at Warriors Way Home where, you know, our tagline, let's say, is that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You know, emphasizing that it's better to stay strong and skilled and ready versus vulnerable and, you know, unaware. With your 400 years of experience, what would you say is, you know, what does that mean to you to be a warrior in a garden?
I think it's a tough one in a sense. A warrior in a garden there's to be a warrior takes many things, and like you talked about before, about honor, about integrity, about hard work, training, discipline, all those things. And I think that's possibly the best thing to do without affecting anybody that is detrimental. Because you in a garden, remember, in a garden you have flowers, you have grass. You can be a warrior and doing all your stuff and upset that grass and upset that flower bed and not make But as a warrior, you should be aware of your circumstances and your surroundings. So, to me, that's, you know, if I want to go into a situation, and it's hard to do. Let's be honest. I mean, we all have tempers. We all have, you know, people annoy us. And you know, there are times I go to do things. I'm like, oh, should I do that? Shouldn't I? And so I think as a warrior, you have to really have that integrity to understand, you know, your circumstances. You know, there are so many things that affect us. And I was actually watching we're about to do a seminar in January where we're going to be bringing in. We've got two seminars happening, one in Dallas and one in Los Angeles. And with one, we've got Robert Charles, who's a world champion rapier fighter, Anthony DeLongis, who is the fight choreography, was on Highlander, but he's also a sword master. And I've got a premier motion capture guy, and then I've got another guy in. So that's one event we've got. But the other event we've got is a knife techniques. and sword yoga we're going to be looking at possibly doing. But knife techniques is interesting. I was looking at a gentleman talk about it, and he was saying, you've got all your technique, but in a real situation, that technique is only a portion of what you've got to do. There are so many other factors you've got to look at. You've got to look at how the person's standing. You've got to look at what the preemptive motions that they're doing. You've got to look at the surroundings you've got. And I think that's the same thing as being a warrior in a garden. You have to be aware of all these other things around you that don't just rely on you being a warrior and strong and fighting strong, but be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your circumstances.
Absolutely, sir. Mr. Adrian, thank you so much for taking this time, to talk to us today. I know our audience is going to get a lot out of this. We have your social media here as well. Travis, any last words? We'll go ahead and link everything down below for you in the description. We'll link back to your, IG and Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff for you.
Fabulous, guys. Thank you. And keep on doing what you're doing.
I appreciate it so much, sir. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Take care.
See you next time. Safe travels.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. So, we just had a chance to talk to Adrian Paul. Fantastic interview, and I think we've had a great wealth of experience in a short amount of time. You guys, we'll sit here and talk, for 2 hours, 2.5 hours sometimes.
Mostly,
but but yeah, being able to get this in, this many gems in half an hour, man, is more than we could ask for. So, thank you to Adrian Paul and his people for making this happen for us. Definitely go check out the Sword Experience. I've been able to go to 2 of them already. Also just to be able to watch him work, but as an assistant. And man, it's crazy. If you ever get a chance to go to anywhere in the world, while he's having these events, I think he has them at castles sometimes.
Yeah,
here in Colorado.
I'll be going to one of the castles. I'll make sure I bring my kilt.
Yeah, we had them at the Springs here at Gardens of the Gods, and also the Olympic Museum. Man, it's always a great time. It's always a great time.
So yeah, guys, so it's like I said, it's been great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and like you said, got a lot out of it. And man, just move forward, man, and just like the Highlander, be open to training in different ways, thinking different ways, having different experiences throughout your life, not being stuck and putting yourself in that box, but being able to expand yourself and learn over time. We don't all have 400 years, a lot of times we may have 80 if you're lucky, these days, but try and get as many experiences as you can so that you can be that warrior in the garden, because at the end of the day, you much rather be the warrior in the garden
than the garden in the war. See you guys next time.
Stay dangerous, guys.
Peace.